Welcome to Delightfully Dysfunctional, a podcast about navigating the emotions of the human condition and the challenges that come with it. I'm Kaylani Persian Mason, a psychotherapist and life coach with James Timmons, an ever-curious human. This is not a replacement for mental health therapy. Please seek out mental health care if that's what you're needing. This is an opportunity for self-healers to dive deep and understand more about themselves. I'm Kaylani, this is James, and this is Delightfully Dysfunctional. How's that?
Wait, and that's going to go after the music, right?
All this goes after the music,
okay.
always.
Okay. Because I was going to start singing, because that felt like a nice little segue right into the boom, dude. Welcome to Delightfully Dysfunctional.
Okay.
This,
I'll let you decide this time.
So, a little bit of a rough start, but we have an icebreaker. Well, first of all,
I know.
We have our sign.
We're bouging.
We have
studio.
multiple camera angles.
Bam.
And
Cameras.
I forgot my in-ear monitors, but it's okay. I cleaned my ears this morning, and I hardly ever clean my ears.
What?
So I had some taters on the Q-tips.
No. Oh my God. This is information you keep to yourself, James.
I know, but I'm trying to be transparent, you know?
Oh man.
Trying to create a safe space.
There's some things that you can keep to yourself and be okay.
So I brought them with me. You don't want to see them?
Oh my God.
Just kidding.
Oh dear. Yes, if you are only listening, be sure to check out our YouTube channel where we upload the video footage. But I've added a lovely neon sign that says Delightfully Dysfunctional. And we're going to be adding some other little decor things as well.
It's
been fun. I know it does. But we're like glowing. It's like from this angle, we're kind of glowing pink.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. It feels really good. It's feeling fun, like our new home.
Yeah.
Which is true because it's in my home, too.
It is your home, yeah.
It is my home.
And it's not super hot right now.
Thank goodness.
So hopefully this will maintain at like a nice kind of cooler level.
Excited for fall. Yeah, we do have an AC that runs, but when we record, we turn it off.
Yeah.
So we were having some like above 100-degree days over here, and it was a little rough.
Yeah.
I feel it.
So thankfully that's not happening.
Right. And the smoke has blown away. We also had fires all over the place and smoke.
Yeah.
And it's blown away. There's blue sky.
Yeah. Yeah. It's feeling like fall. I'm going to a concert tonight.
What concert?
Bush.
Is it at the fair?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Bush. I got bougie seats. I won them at my office.
Wow. Look at you winning things. Are you like a typically lucky person who wins things?
No. No. I hardly ever win things.
Do you ever meet those people who say that? They're like, I win all the time.
Yeah. Those are not my friends. I'm always like, you do what? Okay. Looks like it was nice knowing you.
I'm like, there's some people who are so confidently winning all the time.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I've been winning lately. I won baseball tickets a couple months ago.
See? Two things you've
just,
won in a year.
Maybe it's just I'm exuding confidence and
is that what it is?
You know?
Yeah.
That's got to be what it is.
Huh. My grandma in raffles, she had a specific technique with folding the little ticket. Like she'd crumple it up.
Oh.
Because she says the angles of like.
Does she win all the time?
I don't know. I mean, she'd like to gamble a lot, so I'm sure that like in life,
she probably spent more money.
Yeah.
I need to start gambling.
What? You know what I do win at?
What?
Poker. Yeah. All of Zach's friends call me the Dragon Lady, and they're afraid to play poker with me.
That's funny because it's because you probably know all the tells because you're a mental health expert. So
I don't know. I wonder. I don't know what it is because I don't think that I'm that good. Really. I think that maybe they're just really bad.
People have told me that like I have a really confusing poker face because I have facial tics, and so you can't really read my face.
Them off?
Yeah,
okay.
And so I've used that to manipulate people outside of poker.
Tics.
Yeah,
to like hide.
Because like if they're like looking at me to see if like where my eyes go when I tell a lie, I'll be like. I'm like, oh, dang it. I didn't see where his eyes went.
James just went all like blinktastic right there for a second to highlight his trying to hide the facial tics.
So.
Oh my gosh, that's really funny. Yeah, I feel like maybe we need to, you should bring some, do you have any friends who like to play poker? Really? Could you convince them that they want to give their money to us?
I mean, if I said, "Hey, poker night," I'm sure that a lot of people would be like, "Dude, yeah." Because, but I don't care for card games or board games, so nobody ever like talks to me about them. So I don't know who likes poker.
Okay, fair. Need to find some new victims.
I have a joke though.
Yeah.
How do you wake up Lady Gaga from a nap? You poker face. Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
So we're talking about a really juicy topic today that I feel like all of our listeners are going to resonate with, and everyone on Earth probably has experienced. Yeah. Sadly.
Yeah. I mean, most people, unless you got real lucky, there's some of those people that are like 13.
Yeah.
They nail down the one.
Yeah. We're talking about since my baby left, right? I was gonna go all the way, and then I was like, that'd be really cringy.
I was ready for it.
I started too early in the song. Oh, no. We'd have been here for 30 seconds of me singing.
The rest of the episode is us breaking into like breakup ballads.
Yeah.
Since you've been gone.
Gosh, we need to see how desperately we need a karaoke.
I know. Yes. Okay. So the episode is about breakups.
I was gonna say Heartbreak
Hotel. Breaking
Hotel,
up is hard. Heartbreak. Yeah. Why heartbreak is hard. But we need to. We're dialing it back in because we tried to karaoke on Saturday.
Yeah, I was laying in bed.
I never go out, but guess what? My mama was in town. We had a sitter, and I was like, it's happening! It's happening! And we called you up to come to do karaoke, and they were doing karaoke. I was all excited. I was thinking, what am I going to sing? What are we going to do? What Disney song can I pull out? Because that's all I can sing.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no.
They're like, we're shutting it down for the night. Right when I walked in.
Did they see us and get scared?
I don't know. But the karaoke dude, Craig, his name's Craig Heat. And it's funny. I said, Craig, he. And it sounded like it says. Anyway, I wonder if he hates me. Because I walked in and then he shut it down. He's like, no, I don't want that guy singing on my microphones. Because I don't want the house to come down.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean? I don't want the panties to drop. Because that's what happens when I sing,
Which is so
ladies.
funny, because like on a Saturday night anywhere in the Tri-Cities, it's still not that hopping. Like it wasn't like,
yeah,
it wasn't wild.
No, it was not. And they just turned it into a dance party, and it was just like some 90s classics.
But then we couldn't hear. Then we're deaf and old, and then we couldn't hear.
Yeah, for sure. So we had to get all close to each other, like March of the Penguins.
We were all like packed together.
But we did share a lot. We had a lot of alcohol and French fries. I remember the French fries.
The French fries were
good.
And
that is like my ideal night. Alcohol, friends, and French fries. And then we finished up with some Molly.
No. As in a friend Molly came over?
Yeah,
no, there was no Molly or Molly friend for those listening.
You guys actually were talking about Molly though.
We were talking about psychedelics, and I was verifying with a friend who joined us, who's more well versed in recreational drugs. I know more about the psychedelic drugs.
Wait, who?
What?
Which friend?
Probably all the friends that were there that weren't you or I.
Sorry, I'm not gonna make you say that like on this podcast. There's only two choices though.
There's like the options are so plentiful. Anyways, so I was just like, okay, because different recreational drugs go by different names. Is this the same thing as this? That's what I was asking. Okay. It wasn't like I was doing any deals.
No. She was giving them out. She wasn't selling them.
Oh my gosh, Smarties.
Yeah. So anywho, that was fun, and we should do that again.
Yeah, it was lovely. I think that's the only time outside of like something specific to the podcast actually that we've gone out. Is that true?
Well, I've like
hung out?
I think that's right. Well, like there was that one realtor event that we had White Claws, but that wasn't like us just like out of our own volition.
I have such a low alcohol tolerance. You usually don't find me out hanging out, but I was excited.
We'll have to do a karaoke redo, and we'll film it. We'll put a reel.
Oh dear. Now that's more pressure.
Oh my god! I'll sing "Heartbreak Hotel" as a promo for this Heartbreak Series. Well, we haven't decided if it's a series.
Well, I think so. Right now, my thought is that this episode is kicking off September. And I think that September will be the month of heartbreak, which sounds really depressing. But I think that there's going to be such juicy tidbits about just like, again, that's like a common experience. And if people have had multiple heartbreaks in their lifetime too, then they might understand differences or similarities or how they coped. I think there's a lot of fun little segues.
It's going to be the month of heart healing.
Heart healing. I like that better.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. It's going to be heartbreak. Especially if I sing karaoke, I'll be breaking all the hearts.
Oh, dear.
I'm sorry, guys. That's it.
Yeah, so we got these new camera angles. Now James is just staring at himself.
Yeah.
This is like counterproductive to my goal of making you less narcissistic, this camera angle here.
Yeah. But it's better for like the cutaways and video editing. So no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, okay. How would you define heartbreak?
How would I define heartbreak?
I mean, it's pretty obvious, but like...
Yeah, but you know what's interesting? I like a broad question like that because I've had heartbreak outside of, I mean, I think we'll typically be talking about romantic relationships and romantic entanglements and that kind of heartbreak. But I've had heartbreak when it comes to like family sometimes too.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Disappointments that cause huge ruptures or maybe a loss of connection there. Like that's felt even more profound sometimes than an emotional or a romantic heartbreak. So yeah, I think that there's different kinds of heartbreak.
For sure.
We have heartbreak when our pet dies, you know, that grief. I mean, heartbreak is a grief, I guess, is the connection.
I have heartbreak when I don't have French fries.
French fry heartbreak?
Mm-hmm. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Anyway.
It's like, do you need a support group for that?
No, yeah. Well, like what? Because I don't know.
How do you define heartbreak?
Well, I was just trying to think of like the feeling of heartbreak and like the body chemistry of what's happening. You know what I mean?
Think there's I think
it's got to be the same as grief, right?
You can feel it like in your body too, right? And it does. It feels like maybe an emptiness and a heaviness at the same time.
Well, what would you say was a time that you can think of that you were just the most heartbroken in your whole life? Oh
man, the most heartbroken.
Sorry, we're just going right into the vulnerability.
That's a good question. That's a good question. Okay, let's see. It's so funny now in hindsight because like this particular person isn't someone that was really, this sounds so mean, worth being heartbroken over. Yeah. You know? But at the time it felt like it. So I had just moved, I think I've even talked about it a little bit on the podcast previously, but I just moved to Washington. I'd been in a relationship with this person for like, maybe, I don't know, somewhere around 9 months, I think. And things moved swiftly because he was kind of pushing them that way. But I think I was just feeling like, well, like, yeah, I'm putting down roots and like, this person, like we have fun hanging out with one another. It complicated things because he also had a kid and I fall in love with kids. And so I've, that made it more difficult. Like, I think I actually missed the kid maybe more than him. Actually, I know I did. So that was intermixed in that heartbreak. And what made it's interesting. It made it worse and better when I learned afterwards that he'd been cheating on me. It hurt, but it was also like, well, that's clearly not the type of person. Like I changed my opinion of him. Yeah. It still just hurt that someone who you trusted could betray you that way, but there also wasn't enough, time in that relationship to focus on that aspect. Yeah. So I don't know, but it did tear me up because there were so many other things that felt very out of control in my life. So it was compounded by like really stressful, like burnout at work and health issues and just not having that support system built where I had moved to and kind of the combination is what made that heartbreak hard, where it was like that person felt like safety since they had been more consistent than some of those other things going on at that time.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I'm like, they weren't like, there's so much evidence of them being a really emotionally unsafe person and like dysregulated emotionally.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to look back on a time like that when, you were really heartbroken. But I don't know how to explain this either. I've been the person, breaking hearts.
You've been the heartbreaker?
But I still feel heartbroken when I'm having to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard when you have to do something and it's not the right fit, but I still felt like so much emotional care for that person.
Yeah.
And like to navigate that is complicated too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when we were the last recording when Wisty was here, and right, was that 2 ago?
I think, but yeah.
When we were all visiting after, she said something that like I kind of like carried for the rest of the couple weeks. She said, like the end of, or like the death of a marriage is the death of a dream. And so then like, and that can be applied to every relationship that ends. And so because, and then like, I was reflecting on like my affair and just how, because like that whole situation was by far the most heartbroken I've ever been because I lost my marriage also.
You were grieving two things. Yeah.
And then, and maybe we could talk more about that in a future episode, like the anatomy of an affair or something. But what I realized is that, like, what Wisty said was really wise because it's like, the death of a dream, an idea, this thing that you had created in your head, like these future plans that never existed. So then, like, an affair is really similar because it's like, well, I had projected this person to be way more like, I had deified this person to be like way bigger than they actually were because I had such a limited amount of that person. So then when like that ended, all the hopes that I had put into this person died, but then like my marriage ending, like I got married because I didn't plan on getting divorced when I got married, So when we built our family, I had planned like all these things, with my kids and everything. And so, I think that that was really helpful. It's important to remember that it's like all of a sudden there's like chaos because you have so much uncertainty. You don't know what your future is now. And you have to like create a new dream, but then like you don't want to let go of that original dream, because you invested like your whole life into it. Yeah.
I think in times when I've been the one breaking up with someone, it's been the realization of that I had probably fallen in love with this idea of their potential and a potential that was completely fabricated and not something that they were like.
And then you realize, oh wait, this person does not meet that potential.
Right. Like I need to pay attention to what they're actually showing me. I need to pay attention to like the qualities that are actually here right now, not this idealized or, perfect idea or whatever it might be. And a lot of the times, I mean, what this idea was really just of having a decent partner. So there was a lot of interesting attachment things I could unwind in my own past when I think back on that, because there's a lot of convincing myself or ignoring evidence to stay in something that gave me some semblance of security, even though it really wasn't emotionally healthy.
Yeah.
So even when I would realize that, there was still like, that person was still a companion. They still provided something that like, make life less lonely or to just give a sense of comfort and familiarity. And I think those are things that sometimes it's not until the relationship is over that you realize were there, just like that familiarity.
Yeah.
Of, even in unhealthy relationships, that sense of companionship can be there. And I'm not saying that's why you should stay in one. I'm just kind of identifying that that's a thing.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has a fear of being alone. I remember that was my biggest fear. And so when I started losing people in my life, and there would be like several nights where I would be just alone, and it was torture. But then like eventually I started to accept, and then I realized that there's like a specific type of self-work and healing that could only have happened in my loneliness, you know? So like it's so weird that we like attach to people to give us our value when, and then that always ends up being a disappointment, you know, when it's like, no, you have to just like understand that you are valuable, you know, and then love yourself. And then your outward love is a reflection of that like healed self-love. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think it's interesting. There's some people that can really take a breakup on and try to find they seek to find the why behind it, which can tend to maybe go towards a more negative mindset. And when you look at just the symptoms that go along with breakup, they look like depression. Like it's a depression for a time, but hopefully temporary, if you're able to find the right mindset. And then there's people who are able to cope through breakup a lot easier if they see that as like, this is just a transition, and they see it as temporary. And it really seems rooted in like probably self-esteem. Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, like needing like
outward validation.
Yeah. Somebody needs to give you your value.
Yeah. And there's this other cognitive bias that people can really get into, like feeling as though like I've wasted so much time on that person.
Yeah.
And I would say that that's just not a mindset that's very helpful. And in life in general, it's best to seek what lessons were learned rather than to view it as like that was a complete waste. Yeah. So that's something that I've noticed. Almost it comes pretty automatically now, but especially if there's like an ending, a transition of some sort, like a breakup, I'll try to reflect on like, okay, well, at least what were the lessons? Like actually I had like a meeting with someone that didn't quite go the way that I was hoping recently. And I was like, well, I mean, I was disappointed for a time and kind of bummed for like, I don't know, like an hour after. And I was like, well, I learned a lot about how I could improve the next time I, have a work meeting like this. Or, okay, it brought up some good points that I can like learn more about. So I feel like that's really helpful, even if you're applying it to the end of a relationship. Well, at the end of my divorce, I did that. I learned a lot about what it means to really stay strong in your boundaries.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about what it really means to pay attention to that internal voice of like whether you are staying true to yourself or whether you are giving too much up, and that barometer. And those are things those are priceless. I don't know that I would have learned that lesson had it not been through a hard experience and breakup like that. So I have to be grateful for it too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, life is just kind of like a constant refining, and there's always new lessons to learn. Yeah, because if you view every person like you're thankful for every single person, even if they harmed you, that it's almost like an act of radical acceptance. But it's like, okay, well, I gleaned this information that's useful, so no relationship is a waste.
I think that it's the healthiest mindset to have. I think it's a hard mindset to have. Like I have to remind myself too. But I think that is really the best way to live, because it's not like you're saying, great, I'm inviting bad things to happen, but life isn't about just giving you positive moments. And so even if we're applying that last principle from Albert Ellis that we talked about in our last episode of like this belief that life should be easy and unencumbered, having this perspective of being grateful for the struggle is actively seeking a better mindset rather than this false belief that anything that's uncomfortable is bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like that a lot. I think another thing that is really important too is like if you are feeling heartbroken or if you've gone through heartbreak, you're probably experiencing some selective memory too. You're probably only thinking about the good times and not thinking about the hard times.
Yeah.
And I wonder if trying to find a bit more balance in that would be helpful. Or the other thing that would be really important takeaway is if this person isn't, if they are not fighting for you, or if they're not wanting to be a part of the relationship, there has to also be an acceptance of like, well, then clearly they're not the right person, because the right person would want to do that. And I think that that's a mindset that has helped me in breakups too. Yeah,
this is all like reminding me of a reel that I watched, and I kind of want to just play it for you and then get your reaction. Is that okay? Okay.
Will we be able to? How will our listeners?
I'll edit it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right person, wrong time. Tell me if you've ever felt like this. Meeting the right person at the wrong time is an absolute living hell. That's honestly not talked about enough. The chemistry, that's undeniable. You like each other a lot. Maybe you even love each other. But you know it's impossible to be together right now. Circumstances won't allow it. Distance won't allow it. So you lay in bed, trusting that the universe will one day maybe bring this person back into your life.
That's it. But I mean, okay, so I'll just read you the comment that I wrote.
I saw it popped up.
Okay, okay. I was skeptical of it.
Oh.
So anyway.
Okay, so I have thoughts, so again, I've said this on the podcast, but it's good to bring the stories back up because maybe we've had new listeners, or I just want to refresh people's memory. But Zach and I started dating, and it wasn't the right timing. Like, and now I don't even know. Right, time goes on, and I can't say 10 years ago anymore because it's been longer. But however long ago it was, and that was like, I was confused by him breaking up with me, and that thought of like, well, if it were the right person, then he would, or the right time, then like it would be easier. So what else can I do? Like, it's not really in my personality to be someone who's like, take me back, or why, or to like pine after someone like that, because it's just not a part of my personality. I'll be like, well, okay, you've shown me. What are you? I'm not gonna. I don't know. I'm not gonna convince you. And so like, when it was the right time and we were able to reconnect, like things moved really smoothly. But your comment was that there is no right person. I think there's a lot of right people. It's just right. It's just, you're saying the same thing basically, but like
I was saying,
not like there's a soulmate is kind of what you were saying. There's no.
Well,
soulmate.
I said if it's the wrong time, then it's the wrong person. That was kind of my take.
Okay.
But then, I mean, in your situation, Zach was the right person, and it was the wrong time. So there's exceptions, I should say. But I
think that people can be compatible with a number of partners. It's like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
And what I know about relationships too is no matter who you're with, there's going to be something that drives you crazy. So don't like pine after this person in this imaginary sense of viewing that everything would be perfect, and there wouldn't be something. It would be something different. Maybe with one partner, it's that there's communication issues, and with another partner, it's infidelity, and with another part, those are big issues, and they would be smaller. You're arguing about like finances and budget, like, or parenting. Those are probably, smaller, more relatable. But anyways, just that's a good realization to have too. So you're just looking for someone who's workable. And right now, I think in the dating world, there's the idea like there has to be this perfect person, or there's got to be someone more perfect than that. And it's not reality. Like, reality is that you have to, you will be a happier person. You will be a more well-adjusted person. You will be a healthier person if you're able to find someone who is, compatible with you. But that compatibility has a lot to do with your ability to accept them as a flawed human and yourself as a flawed human. Like, you're not looking for perfection.
Here's the take.
Who can you grow with? That's the question to ask yourself.
Maybe the right person is not somebody else. It's if you are not the right person, you know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Keep talking.
Okay. I was waiting for you to be like, oh my gosh, James, that was no.
Well, I don't. Tell me more. What you mean?
I'm saying like there is no like right person. Yeah, like you're saying you can become compatible with a specific type of person, but if you're not ready, I don't know. Like,
I mean, yeah, I think you. Yeah, that's an interesting thought that we're totally going kind of segueing off of heartbreak, which is okay. But like, if you're not ready, are you saying someone wants to be in a relationship and they're not ready?
I'm saying Zach was the correct person, but
I don't know that he was the correct person. I think that there are multiple people I could have been compatible with and multiple people he could have been compatible with.
Yeah.
I don't like right person makes me think of soulmate. I don't think there is a soulmate.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think you can get over anyone.
I think that it's to what degree. Everything is in the gray. So soulmate, right person, black and white.
Yeah.
If I'm viewing it in the gray, that means, to a varying degree, I could be compatible with, this range of people.
Yeah.
I felt that we had high compatibility.
Yeah.
And the timing played a big role in whether or not that was going to work and whether or not it would be given a fair shot.
Okay.
So there's like, it's a factor.
So there is no right person. I'm willing to die on that hill.
That's what I believe.
Okay.
I mean, and then again, I also think that like there's people that have like super strong compatibility, and if they and it would maybe be fair then to say that like, wow, they seem like they're soulmates. Like I think that I have very high compatibility with Zach, but
yeah, I have high compatibility with Zach too.
Yeah, I mean he's that kind of person. He just gravitates to her. Yeah, I don't know, because otherwise there's also just such a mind trap you can get stuck in.
For sure.
In that belief system. I mean, just the logical sense of like on this planet of humans, you're saying if your one soulmate happened to be born in the slums of India, and the odds of you actually being able to like find them and connect with them are that small that's the reality we're working with.
And people always, and what's funny is usually people's soulmates end up in their same town, and like, it's like, what are the odds that you're one soulmate? I agree with that. It's like,
I think it's, are you willing to hopefully like seek a healthy attachment with someone and work on that? Are you going to like work on your own stuff? And then it's all the elements that I've learned from Gottman. Like, are you able to be a healthy partner for someone, and are you able to find a healthy partner?
Yeah.
So in the ideas of breakup, if someone isn't able to meet you there, to cultivate and like want that healthy relationship, and you have no evidence of them continuing to do that and wanting to do that, there can be some closure to a breakup of feeling like, okay, they weren't someone that has what it takes for the quality that I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
In a partner.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry that was kind of chaotic, but I'm glad we kind of unpacked that and went there.
We're good.
Because that I feel like that's really comforting. That the idea that there is not one right person. Yeah. Like I agree. There are characteristics that you're going to naturally be compatible with. And so you'll if like you're grieving one person, you will get over them, and there's a pretty good chance you'll find somebody that will meet you in this new version of yourself that has the characteristics that'll support that, and
were you worried that you missed your opportunity?
No.
Okay.
I've been heartbroken enough to know that like there is no soulmate.
Prior to your wife, had you been heartbroken?
Yeah. I had this one like really intense relationship it was like 1 month, but then
it is intense.
And then we went long distance. And if she's listening, she knows exactly who she is. But no, and then there was just a lot of deception and like betrayal and stuff. And Yeah, but I remember like I made the decision, the conscious choice to just get over her, and I was over her in like 12 days. I remember I didn't have feelings for it and what I always say is like, well, it was so fast, and
I think the length of time definitely plays a role in
like I didn't adjust my life to accommodate her, and you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. And if it were, let's say it had been, for some people it's a short amount of time, but then they do find themselves grieving someone for an extended, longer period of time than they were even with that person, I would say that's likely lust. Then that isn't the same thing as
it's like a lot of impulses.
It's not like a deep intrinsic love. And if it were a short period of time, again, like let's say a month, like did you really know that person? No, like you were assigning a lot of
projecting things,
right? So I think that's another element. I think another element that can be really stressful when it comes to breakups is the social pressure and just the feeling of maybe it feels like, oh, everyone's already paired off, or this is what I'm supposed to be doing at this stage of my life. Yeah. And I think that some things are changing in that area. I mean, statistically speaking, more people are getting married later and having kids or starting a family later. But that can be difficult and stressful. Family pressure, that can be difficult. That's another element of a breakup. We're feeling, if family's going to start asking a lot of questions, or when are you going to get married, or what happened to so-and-so? There's a lot of different areas like that can make breakups even harder.
For sure. Yeah. Does it say anything in your notes about the grief process?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I feel like my experience with heartbreak is exactly the same experience of grief, Yes. And so like when I was, my most recent heartbreak, like I shared, was, I didn't realize that I was grieving. Cause like when somebody says the word grief, you think you only experience grief after a loved one dies, And so it's like, well, if it's a breakup, then it's not grief. It's, but no, it's absolutely grief. I feel like we can't talk about heartbreak without talking about grief.
Yeah. I mean, there's a loss again of that romantic partner. There's an emotional attachment to that partner, and attachment to someone too it involves your nervous system. So that person maybe must have created some sense of calm, likely, or in unhealthy relationships there's a real cycle of like desire, disappointment, or abuse, and then this honeymoon phase. And so sometimes it's this again, there's still an attachment, an unhealthy attachment within that cycle, but there's sometimes people not having enough support can really make that wound feel wider, make it harder to heal if that was maybe your only source of connection with someone or deep connection. So it feels like, I mean, I'm literally picturing kind of like, not in a gross sense, but I'm picturing like this open wound of like, how do you help it heal? Like that Band-Aid, which would have been like support from other people, or maybe just having a healthier attachment. There's different things that we can do to make breakups easier, or that we should be aware of. But I think that sometimes that pain of feeling that heartbreak ends up kind of just being left open. Yeah. It's a huge loss. It's a huge stage to think about. I think you'd even phrased it really well earlier, but that idea of having just a picture of your life, and now that's all been like erased, and then what's next? And as humans in general, we are creatures who want to be able to prepare and think about the next step, and to prep and plan, and it reduces our anxiety to know that we have an idea of where we're going, or we have some kind of predictability. So I think it throws us off internally in that way too.
Yeah, because then it's almost like a loss of meaning. You're like, well, now what do I do? And especially. And, I remember, and I'm just reflecting on my wife's heartbreak with what I did, and it's such I hate visiting that because I'm so like, I hate myself for it, but, I remember like she had said something like, it's humiliating, you know? And I can imagine like the social pressures, because like when you're married and you have a family and stuff, and like it's almost like this accomplishment. All the social pressure, you've satisfied all the social pressures. So when that ends, it's like, well, now I feel really exposed and really vulnerable because I felt protected, that everyone outwardly viewed me as doing well. And so now I have to like really like kind of stick out and be like, yeah, you know, my whole world is torn apart.
But from like a biological standpoint, like we want to feel like we are having like pro-social traits that are in line with our community, and are just feeling like we're a part of the group in some way. So I do think that that's a huge part of that grief too, like the grief of like not having whatever that vision was. But I think there's a lot of people that have seemingly happy families and seemingly happy marriages, but appearances aren't everything. Like just because you have the nice house, and just because, you know, the kids are well adjusted, it doesn't mean that the bond between partners is strong, or that they're continually working on it, or that, you know, they're really trying to cultivate more care and intimacy with one another. Those things can be deteriorated despite the facade looking beautiful.
For sure. Oh gosh, I had a thought and I just lost it. I do that a lot. But
I think what's hard too with breakups is the same kind of grief triggers that you'd probably experience at the loss of someone. Like, oh, I drove by that restaurant. That's where we had our first date.
Yeah.
Or like, I used to be happy that one time we sat on that bench.
Triggers are so unpredictable. Like I remember hearing about this woman who like had been raped like 20 years prior, and then somebody walked by that was wearing the same cologne as her abuser, and it just like, you know, all of a sudden,
smell has a very strong tie to memory.
Yeah. Well, I'm no exception. So yeah, there will be things that will trigger me. I was going to share one, but it's like so inappropriate.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I'll just share it with you and then I'll edit it out.
Okay. So I would say if I had some tips for people when it comes to how they can get over somebody, I feel like we've gone over some pretty good like thought habits actually, as far as like be grateful for the things that you learned from that experience. I would say, sorry, I just burped.
So did I.
Gross. So sorry, listeners. Can you edit that? Edit my burp out?
I'll just make it way louder.
No, it surprised me. Oh my gosh. Okay. The next one, I would say the next tip would be, honestly, if this is, limit your contact with them.
Absolutely.
Limit your contact with them.
Oh,
like
gosh.
That is only just going to like pick at that scab if you're not like aware of where you might get sucked back in, and that's just going to make it more difficult.
Yeah, that's so critical. But that's a really, really hard thing for people to do.
Right.
Because it's like, in order to successfully grieve someone, they have to actually be dead to you. You know, they can't exist. And so, because the grief process, the one that I kept getting hung up on was the bargaining phase, where it's like you will do anything to bring them back to life. And when you know that they're out there and they are alive, even if you had blocked them, like there were a couple times where I would block my affair partner, and then like a couple months would go by and I would have some impulsive thought and just be a complete idiot, and I would like unblock her and then reach out to her, you know, because that was that. And I realized looking back that was like the bargaining part of grief, where it's just like a massive impulsive feeling that like overtakes you. But yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I guess how would you create that discipline because if you have been in a season of impulses with this one person,
right?
And then all of a sudden you're the only one who can overcome that impulse.
When you're in that moment of clarity, in those moments where you're like, I need to block this person. This isn't healthy. Do some writing. Write even a letter to your future self if they ever feel the temptation and say, hey, remember. Yeah. Remember why you've made this decision. Yeah. Remember how far you've come in your healing and that you don't want to give that up. Remember how hard it was to have to like go through this again and again if it's been a cycle. The ways that you really aren't compatible, all those things where you might have been, having selective memory and not remembering the times that were really difficult or where you felt really hurt. You might need to give yourself some like reminders of that because that intense loneliness or impulsivity, the combination, can probably feel a bit overwhelming. Yeah. And so, I think that you need to kind of give yourself a pep talk, even if it's a voice memo, that could be good too. Like there's a lot of different ways, but in those moments, realize like, it's a moment of kind of emotional vulnerability and weakness, and that you need to be able to support yourself or be able to also say, hey, here's the good qualities you have. Here's the lessons that you've learned from this. Yeah. Like your best odds of happiness are to cut out now and to seek something that is healthy. And we've talked a little bit before too about having an idea of what are those qualities you would want in somebody, and not that it should be standing firm, but like when I say those qualities, it's not just the way that they look. It should be much more about the person that they are. Yeah. I tend to believe that there's a lot of people who have too many stipulations on what someone needs to look like versus the actual quality of their character. Yeah.
No, everything you said, it reminded me of what helped me finally overcome like that impulsive bargaining phase. And that, remember I talked way earlier about like my level 0 and level 5. And like I had finally written down like the person I want to be in 1 year. And so then every time I felt an urge to do something that didn't agree with that person, right, I would say, no, James, that's level 0 bullshit. No. Yeah. No. And that would help. I would have to. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I'm sorry I cut you off. No. I just was really excited about that because I think that's another piece of great advice when you're thinking about overcoming a breakup and kind of that letter to yourself. It's like, no, don't go backwards. Like you've made this progress, like revel in that, be proud of yourself. Remember in the direction that you're going, remember and it takes that time and distance and championing that to feel like you can actually catch some ground and not kind of fall back into that cycle. But it's going to happen. It's almost like you have to create a vision board for yourself of your healing and be very tenacious about like reminding yourself of that.
And it's almost like a hack because that what we were talking about earlier where you had an original vision and dream of your future that now you're like, well, where do I go from here? What do I do? But if you actually write down a future plan that only involves you at like your best life,
then there's the excitement of things that you can do.
Yeah, nobody can take that away from you either. You can only take that away from you. And like, there's one thing that you have said several times, key phrase, reputation with yourself. Yeah, that has actually also really like helped me stay accountable because like it's like, no, James, we're not doing it anymore. And then like that doesn't align with the reputation you have for yourself, And so, it's almost like when you're getting over somebody that was bad for you, that there's like a leveling up that is like the counter, like the remedy to that person, So
yeah, totally. And I don't know what it is. I think that women tend to do this more than men, but like it's like a standard thing, almost like a symbolic transformation. Like that's when the women are going to cut their hair and dye it. But I don't know. I just do think that that's funny that seems to be like sometimes there's a symbolic transformation that can accompany that breakup. And I'm so guilty of it too. Yeah. I got this tattoo after a breakup. I'm sure I've dyed my hair after a breakup. Yeah.
I've never done any like body modification after a breakup. Yeah, I think
it's a more female thing. I don't know why.
Well, I did get a Barbie tattoo on my lower back
that says "Knauf."
What?
That's what they say in the movie. That you are Ken-enough. Because Ken
enough.
And Ken doesn't feel like he's enough.
You know what?
I
never heard that, but I am going to now get that tattoo on my lower back.
Yeah. That ladies will really like
that. Do ladies, I just lectured the women about cutting their bangs. Do you think it's a mistake if I as a male get a lower back tattoo that says you are Ken-enough?
I think that they want you to highlight your lower back. So that's a good thing.
Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
I'm so glad that I get this opportunity to really have a positive influence on you, James.
Yeah.
Now I want you to I am Ken-enough.
I am Ken-enough. I don't understand the full context, but I kind of do.
Yeah, you'll have to watch the movie, but it's making me laugh.
So you and Zach went and watched it together?
Yeah, we did.
Did he wear pink?
No, I don't think either one of us did.
Okay.
And it was a real debate for both of us whether we wanted to take a nap too, because we were tired.
Yeah, take a nap in the theater?
Yeah. Man, if me staying awake through a whole movie is kind of a feat these days.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And they make those chairs so comfy.
That's the problem. They're so comfy.
They're
and
recliners.
It was a hot day, so it was AC and it was nice in there, you know? It's a good spot for a nap. but we stayed awake. You know what? I actually do have... I want to skip our advice to the next session because
Okay.
I have a hot take on the Barbie movie.
Okay. I want to hear it.
So you didn't watch it, which you should watch it.
Okay.
That's my first point. Here's my hot take on the Barbie movie. I thought that it was very entertaining. I thought that it was well done. I liked the music. I liked how they moved like Barbie robots at times, and it was nostalgic. I did not like the way that they portrayed men, and I understand that they were making a point about feminism, but to me, feminism is about equal rights, and it's about lifting whoever is on the bottom up. And right now, men are actually, they're feeling more depressed. Men are... they're not going to college as frequently as women are. They're feeling there's more loneliness with men.
Yeah.
And I think that there are some ways that we're doing a really big disservice. And so it's not to say, and I feel like I am a feminist. I want equal rights, but I think that there are some ways that we are not providing the right communities for men. Now, granted, I'm not saying that patriarchy isn't a thing. They address the patriarchy in the Barbie movie, just so you would understand why I'm going on this tangent.
Yeah. No, I kind of know what it's about.
And I thought that they did it in a really cute comedic way to some extent, but they just really continually tried to highlight again this black and white of now this role reversal of women completely running the Barbie world and men really having had low self-esteem. Yeah. And they were just not a participant in the world. They didn't even get their own house. I don't know. There were a lot of differences. And in the Barbie universe of how the toys work, I totally understand. There's it's the world of Barbie, not the world of Ken. Just just that, in a Barbie world, it makes sense that things are going to be more Barbie focused, but they just really made the male characters look dumb.
Yeah.
They made them look unintelligent. They made them look like they didn't deserve to have a really meaningful role. And I just think that it highlights a bigger issue that we're having when it comes to how men are treated in society. And that's my hot take on the Barbie movie, I guess.
I love it. Well, okay, so no, I agree. I think that I don't know, I consider myself to be equal human rights for all people, And so, if there's an oppressed segment of society, if it's women in our country that are oppressed or that are less than, then that's a problem. They should have equal rights, but then a lot of times people will view that and they'll do an overcorrection.
Right.
And then they'll try to they'll almost punish the opposite group. We saw it with racism in this country. It's well, then white people should lose all their rights. It's no, I don't believe that. I think that I think everyone should have equal opportunity. It's equal rights for all humans. Nobody should be oppressed. Nobody should have less rights. And so, I completely agree. And feminism. And I feel like there was such a massive culture of like anti-man, and there still is, but then I feel like there's a lot more people like us that are kind of like in the middle, and they're just like, yeah, we're done with the fighting. We're done with the hatred. Like, let's just live harmoniously,
Well, I mean, and I don't know, let's just see each other's humanity. Let's see more of the gray. But I do think like an overcorrection in general is yes, like that the movie highlighted that overcorrection, and there's other ways that as a society there's been overcorrection too.
Oh, like they mentioned that they're.
No, just that the way that they portrayed it highlighted the what you're saying, that overcorrection that we're seeing. But if we're seeing men are struggling, I guess. If you're not seeing it, then I think you need to pay attention more. But they are struggling, and I'm not saying that they're still not making more money to the dollar on what a woman makes. That's still true too. But how someone struggles is not defined by one point on a graph. It's defined by many points. And I think that as a human who wants there to be healthy men in the world and wants the men that I care about to feel like they're supported and feel like they can have emotional vulnerability and growth and that support, I feel that it's something then that we need to talk about.
Yeah. And I think that that's more of the like men. I don't know, like whenever I felt like I was struggling as a man, it was like because I was depending on other people to give me my value. Because like, I understand the whole trying to be like men on average do make more money, but at the same time, like that is like our whole identity, as men, as providers, like it's like, it's such a competition, it's such a pressure. Like, if you're doing well financially, then you are like a good man. If you're not, then it's so shameful. Like I want to go when I'm like having financial struggles, I don't want to tell anyone about it. And that's I need to unpack that at some point, but it's like, I want to hide. And I project that everyone else views me as less than. So then I'm assuming, okay, I don't have money. So you probably don't want me around you. Like that's a thought that I have, which is not true. But then it also is kind of partly true. Like being a single man, here's like the top two things that I always see women want, obviously, are financial security. Everybody wants financial security, but women also want like 6'3".
I was gonna say height.
That's the number one thing. And I'm like, I've never in my life been self-conscious of my height. I'm 5'11". I've always like been never even a thought. But the last like several months, I'm like, gosh, I don't meet the height requirement. And and I'm like, and so men have like gone so far to.
Men are having way more body image issues.
That one reel that Zach sent us, a guy broke his legs and had like some surgery.
Yep,
so he could grow a few inches.
Yeah, inserted into his legs so that he can feel tall because he couldn't find a mate.
Yeah, and my thought when I saw that was like, oh, that's possible. How much does that cost?
No,
I swear to God. And I was like, that is such a toxic. Thought that is so stupid that I had that thought. I'm just being honest, but like, but the pressure's out there.
That thought, yeah.
And it's like, do you know how much of the world's population is over 6 foot? It's like 2%, and so it's like, ladies, you're the problem in this situation.
Well, and I think that there are. I do think that there are. I don't know. There was a messaging, maybe like you can have everything and. Again, I think that can create a fallacy in thinking similar to what we discussed in the last episode with Albert Ellis about like this idea of things needing to be right or perfect and perfecting a rigid idea of who you think you want and that equals what you deserve is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
projecting this idea of just, I want that, so that equals that I deserve that. Or even you should question why it is that you think that you need that or want that. And is like these physical qualities, is it really more important? Like, would you want someone who does, you know, is this Ken doll, let's say, of perfection, and then, you know, doesn't provide for you emotionally, or isn't, you know, there in these really high quality ways that you need them to be there.
Yeah.
When you're, guess what? When everyone gets old and they get freaking ugly, like we're going to get old and we're going to get wrinkly and it's all going to be for naught. This is temporary, right? Our good Asian cheekbones here, this shit's temporary, James.
I know, but we age slower.
I know, yeah.
In your face, tall guys. You're going to have bad knees when you're 50. And I'm going to be selling your house.
Jeez.
Sorry.
But that's a reality too. And I think that really paying attention to like, who is it that you are trying to look this way for? Is it for, or I've asked some people too, like how often are you looking at social media to be your barometer?
Yeah.
You know, are you just looking and pining over thinking that like, you know, so-and-so who posted this happy family photo with her tall husband must have it all and you want that. And there's this comparison. Because if you think that the people that you see on social media are eternally happy, you just don't know them that well yet. People have nuance to their life. Everyone has stressors. Everyone will experience grief.
Yeah.
Everyone will experience the unexpected and the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's my hot take, folks.
I love it. That was such a great take, and that was a good conversation. Yeah, I've kind of like settled on, like, physical things can be improved, you know, if like, so that's not like a non-negotiable anymore, except the shoe game. That's a non-negotiable.
The shoe
you know,
game,
you can't teach that.
You can't teach.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning.
I'm just kidding. No, but the only
good shoes and a visible forehead. That's what we've learned that James is into.
But see, that can be improved. Just move the bangs out of the way, and then they'll grow. They'll grow. No, so like, yeah, compatibility, but like a specific type of person for me. Compassion and curiosity, like those are the non-negotiables,
right?
And then there's like certain characteristics that I find attractive, you know, and like
like it's a bonus, or like the more you know, you need some kind of an attraction, but like
if you're drop dead gorgeous and you have strong shoe game and I can see your forehead,
but you're a terrible person,
and you don't have compassion and curiosity and you project, then you are ugly AF.
Like I don't know if I feel like your face is lying. Like you'd still think they're hot, but
I mean, I would still hit that. But I have a visceral unattraction when I see those things. So like that person would like literally, I'd be like kind of disgusted with the fact that they are attractive, and that they're acting that way. Or like I think that sometimes I can have a negative bias and even think like, attractive people maybe haven't had the same challenges, and then have you really grown? Have you had the opportunity to grow, or were things easier for you? And that sounds messed up because some people may see me and think I'm attractive. I have ugly duckling syndrome. Like I don't know. I grew up feeling like I was not attractive, and I still mentally am firmly in that camp. But I think that you can, like you should really pay attention to what those actual qualities are, because they're going to fade. And at the end of the day, when you are with someone in that one-on-one time, that is not the one thing that is going to keep you happy and fulfilled in a relationship. It's pretty minor, really. And if you're dating somebody or trying to get the attention of somebody who is like really shallow like that, it's so toxic, because then you sit there and try to like only present like your best features on your best days. And so, and it's just,
if you can't learn and grow with someone, those are indicators, I think, of either what needs to change within you or what needs to change about the situation.
Yeah.
So That's our first episode in this series about
Heartbreak
breakups
Hotel.
and heartbreak. Yes.
Down at the end of lonely streets. Heartbreak Hotel. That was still cringy, but not as long.
Yeah, in the month of September, we will serenade you, whether you like it or not, with breakup ballads.
Yeah, because you guys are heartbroken and you need my sultry vocal cords.
Oh. My face. I was like, no. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like, subscribe, comment, interact with us. We would love to hear if there's any advice that you're needing, especially in the month of September. If it's about heartbreak, you can be as anonymous as you want to be. We would love to hear from you and connect with you. Thank you for staying curious. Bye, delightful humans.
Bye-bye.